the special presentations today?
Yeah. Is there like
And
a, should I just put your last name?
yes,
Okay.
awesome. It'll be by Queer Alliance. Great. Erman?
Everyone, if I can please add my appointment, Kyle Schmidt. He was supposed to come last week, but since it's an old agenda item, I think it can just carry over as old business. So I just put his little name in the chat.
Okay, thank you so much, Ramon.
Momina?
Hi, sorry, I was finding the unmute button. Can we strike SFS allocations?
Yeah. Breeze, I'm still making some edits right now. Can I call on folks when I'm like ready?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Okay, I'm not sure who's next. But Angie?
Hi, can I strike ASRF allocations and AAC travel mini grant allocations? And can I also strike my appointment to Academic Senate?
Okay, got it. And then Sarah?
Can I strike Bruin Advocacy Grant from the agenda, please?
Okay, and then Jenny?
Can I strike Capital Contingency?
Yeah. Okay, I think that's all the amendments. Oh, actually, Tay.
Yes, sorry. Can I strike the SWC programming fund, please?
Okay, got it. I think that's all, Breeze.
Awesome. Okay. Can I get an what is it called? A vote. Sorry, I'm blanking right now.
Motion.
Oh, what? Sorry?
A motion.
Okay, can I get a motion, please?
I move to approve the USAC agenda for October 12th, 2021.
Awesome. Can I get a second?
I second.
Erman motions, Momina seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Okay. By a vote of 12 to 0 to 0, the motion passes and the agenda for today is approved. Awesome. Moving on to the agenda of last week, I believe it was the 6th. Let me double check. It was the 5th, actually. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda for last week? The notes?
I move to approve the agenda. Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Okay, I move to approve the agenda for the 5th of October.
Can I get a second?
I second.
Okay. Emily motions, Taylani seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. I'm missing Momina, sorry. Great. By a vote of 12 to 0 to 0, the motion passes and the agenda for October 5th is approved. Great. Moving straight into public comment. Public comment is a time for members of the public to come and speak with us. Each member of the public has 2 minutes to speak with us. Remember the importance of challenging ideas, not individuals, using gender inclusive and respectful language. Freedom of speech does not mean freedom from accountability. Each speaker will be given 2 minutes to speak and the opportunity to speak once. No dehumanizing language. So if you can, please go ahead and raise your hand and you will be promoted into the waiting room. Members of the council, please lower your hands as we no longer are asking for that. Awesome. Thank you so much. So Radha, whenever you are ready.
Thank you, Breeze.
Hello all, I'm back again to give you some updates. Glad to be here, glad to see you all. My name is Rada, I go by she, her pronouns, and I'm the chair for CalPERG students at UCLA. CalPERG is a student-funded, student-directed organization that started at UCLA in 1982 by students who wanted to see a better future. And they wanted a society where issues in terms of the environment, public health, and our democracy would be resolved, and where students had a platform to be heard on the issues that they care about. And that is why we have continued our legacy of student activism for more than 50 years and continue to fight for a world that will be safe, affordable, and better. So I just wanted to briefly share about the campaigns that we're running this quarter. So for 100% campaign, because of the threats to our environment, we are working to address the worst impacts of climate change by getting Governor Newsom to commit our state to 100% clean energy by 2030. For the Affordable Textbooks campaign, from the high cost of education, students are risking their personal well-being to pay for textbooks. So our solution is to make textbooks more affordable by introducing free textbooks on our campus with open educational resources by winning the hearts and minds of the UC Regents. In our End Oil Drilling campaign, due to the impacts of oil drilling on our public health, we are working to convince Governor Newsom to get California to phase out of oil drilling to protect our local communities. Finally, for our Hunger and Homelessness campaign, we are working to address student hunger so that they have food on their table by raising funds for shelters, food banks, and homeless service organizations, and connecting those in need with resources. And if you want to get involved, I'm going to put my phone number in the chat if you want to get more information. And thank you all for having me be here, and have a great rest of your meeting.
Awesome. Great. Kayla?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I am one of the directors under the TSR office. I am the director of student activities. And I just wanted to remind you all to please sign up for transfer awareness trainings. I've messaged you all through email. I also put my email in the chat as well. And a few of you have responded back. So I just came here to remind you all again. And if you all can, please also try to sign up for an hour-long training if that's possible. But I also understand if you cannot make that time too. But that's all. And I'll also put my email into the chat. And if you have any questions, you could either email the email I'm about to send, or talk to Erman.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kayla. Great. Okay, so I do not see any other members of the public with their hands up. Going once, going twice, and if not, we'll conclude public comment at 7:11 p.m. Great, moving straight into funding. Jenny for contingency programming.
Hi, yes, let me drop it in the chat. But this week we have a total of $8,653.17 allocated to 14 groups.
Great, thank you so much, Jenny. Awesome, I was about to ask. Can I get a motion, please?
I move to approve $8,653.14 of funding to 14 groups, or 17 cents funding to 14 groups for contingency.
I'm sorry, can we just clarify, are those non-USAC entities and USAC entities?
Yes. Sorry, it's 14 non-USAC entities.
Thank you for the clarification.
Awesome. Can I get a second, please?
Second.
Okay, between motions, promise seconds, all in favor, please raise your hands. Great, and by a vote of 13-0, the motion passes, and $8,653.17 are allocated to 14 non-USAC entities. Awesome. Prom, did you want to do ARC, or are you striking today?
Striking ARC today, but we will be bringing guidelines to council, updated guidelines to council next week.
Amazing. Thank you. Okay, Jane for TGIF.
Yes. So this week we allocated $742.17 to a non-USAC entity, and then we also extended our main fund deadline until this Friday. It's usually last Friday, so we'll have more allocations next week. I don't think we have to vote on them, but just to let everyone know.
Thank you, Sarah. I saw your hand is raised.
Oh, sorry, I just forgot to lower.
Oh, no worries. Okay, awesome. Thank you. So do we need we need a motion for that, right, Jane? Or no, we don't.
It's a consent item, I think.
Awesome. Great. Okay, great. We're done with funding. Moving straight into special presentations. So we are starting seat at the table today. Today we have Queer Alliance and Shivesh, I believe, will be presenting to us. Thank you so much.
Hello, everyone. So I don't have a formal presentation, but y'all can just hear me talk. My name is Shivesh. My pronouns are he, him. Just a little bit about me. I'm a fourth year neuro major minoring in Soc Gen. And I'm the external director for Queer Alliance, and it's such a pleasure to be here and talk about our organization to you. So just a little bit about QA and who we are. We are a student-run mother organization that houses other queer and trans student organizations. Some things that I can think of on top of my head include HCAT, which is the HIV Counseling and Testing Coalition. There's also Shakti, and other organizations that are like that. And we aim to create a community and space where we can advocate for queer and trans students on campus with an emphasis on queer, trans, BIPOC community needs. The emphasis being on BIPOC, we strive to be intersectional. And we hold several major events and programs for the UCLA queer and trans community. And some of these include Cutie Cusp Lounge, Pride Week, National Coming Out Week, or NCOUT that's happening like this week. So if you guys are free, feel free to head over to our Instagram and check out some of the events. We have a movie night at 9 p.m. Sorry, just plugging it in, and a lot more. I'll be elaborating a little bit on these projects later down. And we also do want to open up the floor to other folks who identify within the community or allies. If there are any ideas that you have that we aren't currently working towards, feel free to bring it up to us. You can just email us. I will drop it in the chat towards the end, and we'll be more than happy to look into it for you. But going on to our programming efforts, something that we have been doing that has been very successful is this thing called Queued Up, which we started during COVID-19, and it's part of our retention projects and efforts currently. And a lot of queer trans folks might feel unsafe at home, and with the unforeseen circumstances brought by the pandemic, things might have been exacerbated, and it definitely did impact people's mental health. So this was just a way for us to just bring the community together, provide the safe space. So things include some things that we did was like queer cooks, where we all got on a Zoom together and cooked food. And we also did some mindfulness meditations and movie nights together. But just going a little bit onto some of our bigger efforts that we've been doing for a few years. One of our biggest retention projects that I want to go towards is the Cutie Cusp Lounge. I'm so sorry for my notifications going off in the background. Please ignore them. But our Cusp Lounge, our Cutie Cusp Lounge, which stands for Queer Trans Person of Color, Cultivating Unity, Solidarity, and Pride Lounge. That's a mouthful. It's a UCLA-based space of racial equity for marginalized communities. So it's kind of a social space for any QT BIPOC to find community. We also offer trainings and workshops over there and help community members find resources. So it's a community that is shaped by members of the, it's a safe space that's shaped by members of the community for members of the community. And we often provide food, hot drinks, and crafts. So if anyone's interested, feel free to come by. And then I kind of want to go over to our access project, since access and retention are key core components of other organizations. Access projects are designed to make higher education accessible to students in high schools and below. So currently we have two that are pretty big. The first one is PA and TPA, or Pride Admit Weekend and Transfer Pride Admit Weekend. So what we kind of want to do in these areas is give queer identifying individuals resources, such as resources at the LGBTQ Resource Center and other resources off campus as well, to where they can get their needs addressed. And we just want to foster a welcoming atmosphere, make people feel like home, and just feel loved at UCLA. As for Project One, it's a community outreach project that we do where we go to the Ralph Amino Bunce Charter High School, Wallace Annenberg Charter High School, and the Garfield High School in downtown Los Angeles to mentor and tutor youth. We mainly help support the LGBTQ student organizations over in these high schools, and strive to better educate these students and help them become leaders within their own schools. So these are some of the projects that we have going, and also some of our signature events. So that's what I have to offer for Queer Alliance. I may have spoken a little bit fast, but if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask away, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. Also, let me drop the email in the chat, sorry.
Thank you so much, Shivesh. Council members, does anyone have any questions? Feel free to raise your hand. Also, ways to collaborate. And also, Shivesh, maybe you could also provide like ways that we as USAC could provide support to y'all.
Yeah, so that's a really great question that you brought up, because we would really love some funding. Unfortunately, we are struggling with money right now, and a large part of what we do, such as programming efforts, do take quite a lot of money. We also have Pride Week that we usually host winter quarter. And at the moment, we're having to table a bunch of our efforts. Because of it. We did talk to our advisor, Pam, and they did mention that cultural orgs aren't really eligible for a lot of money. So we're hoping if USAC knows of certain ways that we would be able to get some funds into our bank account so we can continue programming these programs that we have going right now.
I'm not sure for everyone, for some people, did Shivesh go out for a bit? It might just be my internet, but no, okay. I don't know, council members, especially if y'all overlook funds, does anyone have any idea where we could redirect?
So Shivesh might already know this since he's also in SWC, but I think SWC Programming Fund would be a good place to go to, since we do have so much money. And I would love to like allocate funds to QA.
Yeah, Savesh, I just put in the chat the USAC like funds available, and contingency programming is the one that I oversee, and cultural like orgs always apply to contingency because we have such broad guidelines. But I know there's like SWC is great too. And you can go through the funds just to see like what kind of fits your needs. But that website is just a really good place to start. And most cultural orgs do get funding from USAC.
Sorry, I'm also taking notes so I can relay it back to the org. Another thing that, this is me speaking, so I'm not going to speak on behalf of QA, but I'm more going to speak as someone who's an advocate for queer issues on campus. I know Gen 1 did reach out to us regarding workshops and trainings for queer related issues. I was wondering if there is a possibility for us to also go beyond just UCLA, since that's something I'm more passionate about as well, and possibly partnering up with the EVP in case they do have any legislation or any advocacy work that they are doing for queer-related issues. Sorry, I can't speak right now. It's been a long day, but definitely reach out to me. I can provide my personal email, and I would be more than happy to help out with these efforts. And I'm sure other members from QA as well would be willing to like join in. But yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Shivesh. Sarah, I don't know if you want to respond to that, or you might not be able to, but hopefully you get to see the chat and we'll relay that to her as well, Shivesh. Thank you so much. Are there any other questions, comments? I, for one, thank you so much for coming to our first seat at the table, first of the year. So thank you. We really appreciate it. And do not hesitate at all to reach out to us. You're amazing. Thank you so much. Council members?
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you everyone for showing Shivesh so much love in the chat. Great. So that concludes our seat at the table. Moving straight into appointments. Erman, you have the floor. I don't know if Kyle has been promoted yet. Oh, he has. Perfect. Kyle, when you are ready, or Erman, do you want to present him actually?
Yes, I would love to. Thanks, Fees. Hi everyone, our one appointment for the day. So that's our good news. I'm super excited to introduce Kyle Schmidt as a prospective appointment as one of the first transfer appointments to the Legislative Assembly on the Academic Senate. I've had the wonderful opportunity to work and learn from and with Kyle. And I very strongly believe that his commitment to supporting the transfer student community, as well as his vast experiences in working with legislation in a variety of different settings, from committees at his community college, in addition to at the local and even state levels, and some of the involvements that he's in, really make him a good fit for advocating for transfers on LGA. And with that, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Kyle for his opening statement.
So thank you so much, Ramon, for the intro. I feel honored. So just everyone, hi, I'm Kyle. I am really happy to be speaking in front of you today. I was up last week, had a class conflict, glad I'm here now. So just a background on my experiences. I attended CC and I'm a first-year transfer student at UCLA. I'm studying a double major in economics and political science. I have experience both, like Herman said, on committees on campus. At my CC, I was involved in 4 different ones, ranging all the way from accreditation, where we put together a 500-page document, which made sure that we can continue to give out degrees, which is really important for a CC, and all the way over to strategic planning, which is like looking at the long-term planning of the college, to ad hocs, etc. I was involved there in a capacity in the student government as the Chief Justice, and I was involved in the state level through the Student Senate for California Community Colleges. And at UCLA, I'm involved obviously in the TSR as Director of Regent Relations and the EVP's office. And so both of those things help me to get involved in the USAC sphere, as well as provide necessary context and, like, let's say, constituent information for use for the LGA. And just beyond that, a couple things I do on campus. I'm involved in the sustainability research initiative on campus, so Sustainability Los Angeles Challenge. And I'm researching under Dr. Pierce, so I have a research background. I am also an intern in local governments under Catherine Barger, and that's the 5th District of the Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors. And I work kind of in a capacity as a representative for Westwood and UCLA, specifically on the North Westwood Neighborhood Council. And I am also their treasurer. So that's me in a bit of a nutshell. And I am really happy to be here. I would endorse any questions you have.
Thank you so much, Kyle. Great. Okay, so council members, if you have any questions at this time, please raise your hand, and I will call on you. Emily?
Hi, Kyle. Thanks for being here. That's a lot of accomplishments that you listed out. Sounds really awesome. Was just wondering, what are some plans that you'd have for this position should you be appointed?
So definitely one of them is making sure that the transfer voices is more prevalent in these conversations. Given that this is the first year that we have transfer appointments, I think that's even more of a pressing and of an issue that's at the forefront of this entire debate. I think even more than that, it's just being able to utilize my experiences from serving on committees, making sure that there is a strong and pressing student voice, especially given that let's just say a lot of these committees aren't that happy to hear from students in the middle of their conversations and their vast institutional knowledge. So I'm just really hoping to kind of be a person that students can come to and actually have their voices be represented on the LGA and push forward some of our priorities for this year. Some things that are really like important to me and I'm passionate about is basic needs. So it's definitely trying to push that forward on the LGA, making sure that one, students' voices are represented, and two, that we're able to have some of those basic needs proposals actually get pushed in front of the faculty so that they can see them and there would be a larger focus on that.
I love that answer. Great. Are there any other questions from council members? Going once, going twice. This might be the shortest interview we've ever had. Great. Okay, Kyle, you are free to give your closing statement at this time.
I guess this is really fast. In summation of myself, I am really excited to have the opportunity even to be standing in front of you to give the speech. And even more than that, it's just to be able to represent transfers and students at UCLA in another capacity is just an amazing accomplishment. And the ability to do so is just amazing. So I think that probably the largest reason why I think I should be an appointment is just my commitment to transfer success and just students in general. In all my different capacities, it's always been trying to uplift the communities I'm part of, whether that's in student government, whether that's in local government, serving as an administrative and assisting capacity, or actually serving in it itself. It's making sure that people's voices aren't just theoretically listened to, but they're actually listened to and acted on, which is a clear distinction. And I really hope to bring that sort of acting mentality to the LGA should I be appointed. And thank you so much for your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kyle. Arc?
From ARC gives a 2 to 1 to 0 positive recommendation. We were impressed by sorry, I read the wrong name. Kyle's interview. We wanted to highlight his past experiences, that it was very impressive to us, and also his vision, focus, and goal in the role, and also his organization skills that he kind of like talked about in the ARC interview. So we're positive that Kyle will do an amazing job effectively advocating for communities on campus while also communicating with the student body.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cass. Anything else from council members? Discussion? Going once, going twice. Okay, can I get a
move to
motion?
appoint Kyle Schmidt to the Academic Senate's Legislative Assembly?
Can I get a second?
I second.
Okay, I think that was Angie. Erman motions, Angie seconds. All in favor, please raise your hands. Okay, that's 10. Prom. Sarah. Oh, Sarah, I think he's in your office, right? Yeah, cool. Okay, 11. Can I get all against? All abstaining? And I think Sarah, perfect, okay. And by a vote of 11 to 0 to 2, the motion passes and Kyle is appointed to Legislative Assembly. Congratulations, Kyle. And that, awesome. you are free to stay. This meeting is going to be pretty short, but you can also go ahead and leave. Up to you. Awesome. And then I believe Angie, yours is stroke. So perfect. Moving straight into officer reports. Y'all, I think this might be the shortest meeting we've ever had. Knock on wood. Okay. So for my office, we had a COVID FAQ that was released. In my meeting with Jean Block, we discussed CPO and the funds and how I guess the funds that were given were funds or budgets that were given were already had similar to the ones that had been previously received. And I will be discussing more in depth with Vice Chancellor Monroe Gordon in the following weeks because I asked a bit for more itemized budgets, as y'all have seen that little back and forth that y'all have been CC'd in that email. We also discussed assisting in navigating possible hybrid learning. And we also discussed DSU's expectations and what was released in the letter. That was also discussed in I guess the Response and Recovery Task Force meeting. I'll go into it more in depth right now. In our Response and Recovery Task Force meeting, we had a vote to move towards hybrid learning. Again, that doesn't confirm that that will be anything, but that is just a recommendation that will go to the EDC. With that, we also discussed DSU's asked for, or what was addressed in the letter. Not much was discussed at this moment, but I will probably be trying to look into looping in Angie, Jane, and DSU into conversations. I know that I myself usually the one that's appointed, but hopefully they might be looking into expand the committee if that is a conversation that continues, especially as we look into the winter quarter. In the meeting with MO Coalition, we addressed that students were disappointed again by what was sent forward. And I have been discussing with Simone possibly what can be done in order to best serve students moving forward. And again, that conversation of potentially looking into rehousing projects. Great. And then for my office, we saw 2 student cases and have been assisting a couple of students that have also been bringing up issues that they were dropped from their classes because of financial aid. And Inya has been really helpful with that. And finally, our curriculum for FSLCC is set to go. Oh, and one more thing, our USAC overall transparency page has been released on Instagram. So please go ahead and follow it and put it on your office pages. Great, that's all from my office. I will pass it over to Kat.
Okay, from the USAC IVP office, we just released our summer session C transparency report last week, so people can check that out on our link tree on our Instagram. And then I recently met with Samahang Filipino to discuss collaborations for Filipinx American History Month, and also met with them along with Mabuhay Collective to get feedback on the Filipinx American History Month resolution that will be discussed later in this meeting. And then I'm finalizing the mental health resource guide with AAC and Gen Rep 1 and meeting with Taylani, the SWC, tomorrow to finalize it, hopefully. And then I met with Angie, the AAC, yesterday to discuss collaborations for ADHD Awareness Month, which is this month. And then meeting with Tay tomorrow to also discuss that. And on Monday, I met with Wazo Connect to discuss forming the UCLA Mental Health Coalition USAC initiative. And then within my actual office, the Mobilize the Masses directors are going to meet with Carl to discuss collaborating on a financial literacy workshop. And the same directors are finalizing a social media series timeline and topics while reaching out to fellow advocacy student organizations. My directors from Empower Resilient Communities are reaching out to student orgs and leaders to highlight on the IVP social media pages. So if you also recommend any student orgs that we want to reach out to, let us know, or just let me know. And then the 9th annual ASUCLA t-shirt design contest began yesterday, so the IVP office will be promoting that until the end of the contest. And for context, students can submit designs for a UCLA t-shirt to win a prize and have their design sold at the UCLA store. So that's going on now. And then finally, UCLA IVP internship. USAC IVP internship is starting to meet this week. And I think I almost forgot this, but for council, please fill out the when to meet that I sent in our Slack channels for our fall council retreat. And then I'll pass it off to Sarah.
Cool, thanks, Cass. I'll start first with my office, and then I'll go on to UCSA related updates. So first, my office actually just launched the Bruin Advocacy Grant for the fall. So if any student orgs or offices would like to fund events occurring between weeks 5 through 10, please make sure to apply by the end of this week. And for winter quarter, the deadline will be November 11th. So for more information, you can visit our social media pages or bit.ly/EVPBAG. Our fellowship meeting just met in person today, and we are actually launching the Lobby Corps Coalition soon. So we will be reaching out to all of your offices and also are welcoming nominations for any organizations or groups that you think should be included in the Lobby Corps. For anyone who doesn't have the time to commit to being in Lobby Corps per se, we'll also be introducing lobby kits for different organizations who just want some resources and information about how to lobby and get involved in advocacy. And then we are also working with UCCRJ on an upcoming rate kit bill, and have set up introductory lobby meetings for the month of November for all the pieces of legislation that we're trying to push. And then speaking of legislation, actually Governor Newsom signed on Wednesday AB 245, which supports transgender and non-binary students by giving them the ability to have names that reflect their gender identities printed on their diplomas, so that diplomas aren't dead naming any graduates. So this bill is just co-sponsored by Equality California and UCSA. And then as for UCSA, we're having our October board meeting this Saturday where we'll be discussing student labor unions, UCAFT, and their demands, an ASUC-wide letter on COVID-19 safety concerns and unsafe return to campuses, and then an AUCSA resolution to combat ableism at the UC. And that is pretty much it for me. So I will pass to whoever has the next verbal. Angie. There we go.
Thank you so much, Sarah, for all your work. In terms of my office, so we had the DSU protest on Friday and had over 200 people participate via Zoom and in person. Thank you guys so much for showing up and participating and encouraging members of your offices to participate. It was super heartwarming to see all the support for DSU. So thank you all again. That being said, FAC, DSU, and I had a meeting with Vice Chancellor Anna Spain Bradley and EDI earlier today to discuss some issues within UCOD and the concerns that DSU has presented, and the meeting was extremely inaccessible to the student reps that were attending. So we sent an email out to EDI afterwards to voice our concerns, and we copied you all a few minutes ago to explain our concerns. So that's just the context behind the email that you should have received. Other than that, my office also released part 1 of our summer transparency report, and we closed our Books for Bruins application on October 6th, and we got over 200 applications, which is super exciting. And my retention committee is starting to review those apps this week. I also attended a UGC meeting and was able to advocate to change the pass no pass deadline from Friday week 6 to Friday week 9. So that's super cool. Other than that, Simone from DSU or from ASU is working to create a financial literacy course to economically empower students. So I'm working with her to get that course accredited through the Academic Senate. And like Cass mentioned earlier, I also had a meeting with her to discuss an event we're planning with All Brains for ADHD Awareness Month. And I have been reaching out to orgs who are interested in joining the mental health coalition between AAC, Gen Rep 1, and the IVP offices to set up meetings with them and onboard them through the process. I'm also in communication with the academic affairs officer from USC, and we're hoping to create a K through 12 social justice mentorship program within LAUSD schools as a cross-campus collaboration. So I was in a meeting with them last week. And then looking further into this upcoming week, I have a meeting with UCLA Res Life to kick off the opening of their late night study spaces on the Hill and collaborate on their study hall spectacular event that's happening this Sunday. And I'm also meeting with the USIE Honors Program to appoint the chair and vice chair and discuss student academic activities for this year. And that's it for my office.
I love AAC so much. Damn, I miss it there. Great. I think that concludes our reports. Officers, can we please go ahead and include your written reports if you have a written report, because no one else put that. It would be verbal, even if it's just a couple of quick notes, just for transparency purposes. Great. Moving straight to admin reps, Jessica.
I don't have any updates this week, thanks.
Great. George, I don't think George is here either. George is here. Josh?
No updates from me. Happy week 3, everyone.
Orlando? No. Fernando? Awesome. Thank you, Fernando. And Patty.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. I will be sending out later this week a fun little Halloween event that we're going to be doing. We're doing a pumpkin carving contest that we'll have on display in A level. So it's open to ASUCLA departments, but also all of our USAC, GSA, student media entities as well. So if you want to be a part of that and decorate a pumpkin, you'll see the email out soon. And then we're also doing a costume photo competition for raffle prizes as well. And then all students are welcome to post on our Instagram their pumpkin carving creations to be entered to win prizes as well. So all just fun for the holiday season. See y'all soon.
Thank you so much, Patty. Also, I think Orlando has an update. I don't know, Orlando, if you want to tell me directly, if you still have the issue or if not.
Thank you so much, Breeze. I was having some issues. I couldn't get off of mute. So thank you for pivoting back to me. No, I just wanted to give a quick update. Tomorrow and on Thursday are the 2-day Days of Soul events. It's a series of workshops that we provide student organizations, both new and returning, ranging from new signatory workshops to drivers training, youth safety training. I've included the link and it has the agenda and the schedule available. So please take a look at it. Have any questions, please let me know. Also, just quickly, tomorrow we're kicking it off in Poly Pavilion with a group of students, a panel. And the panel is focused on success, resilience, and perseverance among student organizations. These are organizations that exhibited different types of thriving during the pandemic, and it's moving into the new year with its student programming. So they will be discussing their experiences, offering tips and strategies. Those that do attend will receive a free meal voucher. Once again, that information is in the link that I've included in the chat. Actually, I didn't include it. There we go. So yeah, so you have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email. But yeah, those are the updates I have.
Awesome. Oh, Patty, you have your hand raised, sorry.
Yes, sorry, I forgot one more update. On Thursday, ASUCLA in Wescom, we are doing an unveiling of or grand opening of the Wescom Student Terrace, which is the first floor patio of Ackerman. So it starts at 7 p.m. and it'll be really nice, just celebration of all the upgrades we've done to that space and doing a little ribbon cutting. So I just wanted to invite you all, if you're free, to swing on by for a nice evening.
Awesome. Thank you, Patty. Great. Okay, so old business, new business, moving straight into the resolution. It's a joint resolution by GSA and USAC in honor of Rafer Lewis Johnson, who was a distinguished athlete at UCLA who passed at the age of 86. So this is just a resolution to commemorate and honor Rafer Lewis Johnson for his contributions and the betterment to the community. So yeah, I don't know if I want to read it off. Patty, do you think I should?
Yeah, if you can share screen or perhaps have someone read the resolution just for the minutes. So we have it on the recording.
A former USAC president, which is kind of crazy because I can't imagine doing this job and also being a student athlete. That kind of sounds insane. Great. Can someone share the screen? Sorry. I mean, I think I can try. Oh, wait. Let me know. Sorry. I have a million tabs open. Y'all don't judge me. That's just how my brain thinks. Okay, great. I think that's good. I'll go ahead and read it off. So this is a joint resolution of the Graduate Student Association and Undergraduate Student Association Council recognizing and honoring Rafer Lewis Johnson. And the sponsors were myself and the GSA presidents, and the co-sponsors were Cassandra and Haley. So whereas on December 2nd, 2020, one of UCLA's most distinguished athletes, Rafer Lewis Johnson, passed away at the age of 86. And whereas he was the 1960 Olympic gold medalist in the decathlon after winning silver in 1956 and gold in the 1955 Pan American. And whereas at the 1960 Rome Olympics, Johnson was the US team's flag bearer, the first Black American to do so. And he was also honored with the lighting the Olympic flame at the 1984 Olympics in Los Angeles. And whereas after the Olympics, Mr. Johnson turned into his celebrity into public service, co-founding this California Special Olympics in 1969 and serving as its president for 10 years. And whereas on June 5th, 1968, when Robert F. Kennedy was assassinated, Mr. Johnson helped subdue the gunman at great personal risk to prevent additional violence. And whereas Rafer was the Undergraduate Student Association president in 1958 to 1959 and served on the board of directors during his tenure. And whereas in 1959, Rafer was instrumental in obtaining a grant to build a new student union, which is now known as Ackerman Union, serving thousands of Bruins every day. And whereas as an undergraduate, Mr. Johnson was a two-sport athlete at UCLA, completing in track and field and playing basketball for another legendary Bruin, John Wooden. And whereas Rafer used his platform to advocate and advance racial and social justice. And whereas Rafer was an embodiment of how to be a role model, humanitarian, philanthropist, friend, mentor, family man, and gracious well beyond his years of being in the spotlight. And now, therefore, let it be resolved that the graduate and undergraduate students wishes to recognize and honor Rafer Lewis Johnson for his contributions to the betterment of the community and humanity, and for representing the best Bruins, past, present, and future. And yeah, that concludes that resolution. I think it's kind of crazy that someone so incredible came to UCLA and did so much for the Bruin community. But yeah, Can I get a motion, please?
I move to approve is this what is a statement or is it resolution?
It's a resolution.
Okay. Yeah, I move to approve the resolution for Rayford Johnson.
Can I get a second?
A
please?
second.
Ronnie motions, Armand seconds. All in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. And by a vote of 13 to 0 to 0, the motion passes and the resolution to honor Rayford Lewis Johnson is approved. Thank you so much, everyone. Passing it on to Cassandra.
Okay, hi everyone. In the chat, I'm just going to put a link to the resolution honoring the Mabuhay Collective, Samahang Filipino, and the Filipinx community, and the recognition of Filipinx American History Month, which is the month of October. I'm not sure how we should go about this because it is 5 pages long. So should I just or should we just share our screen and go down?
Yeah, we can do that, Cass. It's up to you. I know it's kind of difficult to read 5 pages of a resolution.
Yeah. I can or Fernando, if you're able to share your screen, I can just
I can share
break
too.
down the structure and everything.
If Fernando can, okay, cool. Promise has Fernando. Wait, do you want me to do it, Fernando? Which one? Sandra's or mine? Yeah, shareable house. So sorry.
Breeze, it's just not viewable by everybody.
Oh, okay.
You just make it viewable, then everyone can see it. Thank you.
Okay, so this is the resolution. So the resolution highlights and recognizes the history, culture, and also the advocacy work from Samahang Filipino, the Mabuhay Collective, and the Filipinx community at UCLA, while also recognizing the month of October as Filipinx American History Month, of the hard work, the labor, organizing, and the history of the Filipinx community in the United States, as well as at the end, going over how UCLA has never officially recognized it, despite it being signed and also celebrated by the Filipinx community since 1991. So in the beginning, the resolution goes over Samahang Filipino and their history and experiences with access, retention, and culture, also recognizing all the Filipinx-based organizations under the Mabuhay Collective, which consists of 14 Filipinx interest organizations. So I think I'm gonna just read all of the organizations just because I want to verbally highlight them as well. So that includes Anak Bayan at UCLA, Kabalikat Corps, Kappa Psi Epsilon, Filipino Recruitment and Enrichment Program, Filipino Transfer Student Partnership, Filipinos for Community Health, Filipinos in Engineering and Science, Filipinx Pre-Law Pipeline, Samahang Modern, Samahang Filipino, Samahang Filipino Advancing Community Empowerment, Samahang Filipino Cultural Night, Samahang Filipino Education and Retention, and Tinig Cora. So that's all the history of each of these organizations on this resolution. So I hope fellow council members will support this reso to recognize the Filipinx student activists, leaders, and organizers that is so important to the Filipinx community at UCLA, and also just recognizing the long history of advocacy work from this community with other communities as well at UCLA, the greater LA community, and just all around the world. Also, I just wanted to say shout out to Breeze, Angie, and Jane for co-sponsoring the resolution, as well as Samahang Filipino and the Mabuhay Collective for sponsoring. So that's the structure and everything. So if anyone like had anything to say, please let me know.
This is amazing. Thank you so much for writing this, Cass. We really appreciate all your efforts and your team's efforts on doing this.
Thank you.
If no one wants to say anything, can we get a motion, please?
I move to approve a resolution honoring the Mabuhay Collective, Samahang Filipino, and Filipinx community and the recognition of Filipinx American History Month.
Awesome. Can I get a second?
I second.
Motion, Chase, all in favor, please raise your hands. Great. Sorry. I'm gonna assume she might not hear us right now. So by a vote, there you go. By a vote of 13-0, the motion passes, and the resolution honoring the Mabuhay Collective, Samahang Filipino, and the Filipinx community is passed. Thank you so much, Cass. Awesome. Jenny?
Hi, I'm here to present capital contingency guidelines today. So I partnered with OSAC, Hannah, on going over our guidelines and just making sure it's up to date for this school year. We actually did not make any changes from last year's, but I think we still have to, they still have to be voted in, or like the consent item, I'm not really sure. But yes, let me know if you have any questions. Eligibility remains the same. You must have an office in Kirchhoff Hall in order to apply to contingency capital items. Things that you can apply for are like computers or furniture. And it's really on a case-by-case basis. And if you are trying to apply for a new computer, as long as you have not applied like 12 months before for a computer, you should still be eligible for one. And our application will be up shortly after guidelines are approved. Let me know if you have any questions.
Thank you so much, Jenny. Does anyone have any questions for Jenny? If not, thank you so much for programming with OSAC and getting that work done. We really appreciate all you do. Can I believe that this does require a vote, right, Jenny? So I'm gonna need a motion, correct?
Yeah, I think it does need a vote.
It's gonna need a vote, right?
Yeah, you will need to vote this in because this is the guidelines that you all are going to agree to. Even though there are no changes this year, it's just that everyone is going to be agreeing to abide by these guidelines.
Okay, awesome. Are there any questions from council members? Prom.
I see that like copy machines are not funded, so like printers.
Yeah, I think it's because there is a printing office technically that like all of council should have access to. And so it was to limit like every office having their own, because we do technically have a printing office already.
Right. I guess because I know like a lot of us have had trouble with that, accessing that. So like folks have been paying out of pocket for printing. But I know that since like it's not just council, it's also like people who have offices in Kirchhoff, I'm kind of afraid that would make it so people can't get printers and will have to keep paying out of pocket.
Yeah, Jessica's saying that we don't have a printing office. I'm a little confused because at least when I was Naomi Chief, the way we used to do it was that we would like they would have access and we can like, I guess she was like the one that had access, but I'm not sure if everyone does, but we do have a printing budget. I'll let Jessica talk about it.
Thanks, Breeze. Yeah, I just wanted to clarify, we no longer have a standard, it used to be our computer lab space in Kirchhoff, but we converted it once the ISR position was elected so that it could become office space for ISR and TSR. So essentially what we do now is all of the Bruin print stations that are on campus, you would be able to print through there with like specific print credits for your office. So if there's any confusion on that, let me know and we'll make sure we get you set up with an account that you can share with your office staff. And obviously it's a limited printing budget. So once you exhaust that budget, you would then have to find other ways to pay for printing needs out of your office. But usually I feel like most offices can manage with the budget that's allocated.
Tom, your hand's still up, correct?
Yeah, I guess
Go.
with that said, would it be possible to allow printing? Because I feel like that's a pretty integral part in in getting like allocated, and printers are relatively expensive, and so is like ink and stuff. So I don't know. What are folks thinking?
I'm personally okay with allocating or changing it so that you can have printers. We'll probably have to include a max though for like cost of printers, just so like not every single person in like Kirchhoff has like $1,000 printer. But I don't know. I think that should be fine. I don't think SGA will have anything to say about it, but I will have to ask them to make sure that it's okay.
Yeah, thank you so much, Jenny. Sarah, then Armand.
Yeah, quick question. Sorry if this was already addressed, but what was the process for contacting prior to the proposal?
Do you mean like contacting capital contingency, or sorry, could you clarify?
Yeah, sorry. It just says you must contact us before filling out an application. So is that like the proposal that we're submitting, or we're submitting the proposal as part of the application?
Oh, okay. That was like if you are looking to purchase something, because of issues in the past, like we had recommended that you reach out to USAC and FICOM and just like tell us like really quickly, like, oh, these are the items that we want to purchase. And then we can be like, oh, that's like fine, like, and give you the go ahead. And that way there's just like a lot of less back and forth. And it also lets me know that you're about to apply to capital, because we don't check it as often as regular contingency.
Okay, perfect. And then follow-up question. So the link under application and fund details, submitting a proposal, links to the spring USAC form.
Yeah, I have the new one. I just have not. You guys can take a look at the new one if you want, but I will be updating that.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Jenny.
Armand, then Carl.
Hi, Jenny. Thank you so much for putting all of this together and answering our questions. I did want to ask for the computer and peripherals category of capital items. I'm assuming, like, I guess I just want clarity on what like peripherals mean. So does that mean things like keyboards and mouses, or would those fall under the other equipment?
Yeah, peripherals is really just like keyboards, mouses. I think if you need like if like our monitor doesn't come with speakers, or like it's like really like it's like really bad quality, so like those would count as peripherals.
Okay, sounds good. And so would like a hard drive also count as peripherals? Or would that be like a separate thing?
Yeah, I think a hard drive would. It's any applicable like hardware upgrades.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you so much, Jenny.
Yeah.
Carl.
Hey, how's it going, Jenny? Thank you so much for drafting that up. I just had a clarification question. It says, it says allocations for computers and peripherals shall not exceed 2,000 per office. When you say per office, do you mean like physical office, or do you mean like actual, like, you know, because I share all the generals share one office. So would it be like 2,000 for our office completely, or would it be like per person, I guess?
I think the language is meant to be like per physical office. But you're right, let's just make it, it's going to be per like USAC or like per organization. So if organizations do share offices though, okay, wait, no, let me go back. Like personally, we share an office with BOD and CS Mini. So we actually share all of the furniture and all of the equipment. So then it would be per physical office space because we have one computer that like all of us use. If you guys do require more stuff, because like, can I ask like how large is your office, Carl? Like, would you be able to fit more things in there?
I mean, it's a pretty decent size. They got like 3 desks and stuff already, but like, I would just like, I just wanted to know like how that would work, because then it'd be like a, you know, I guess it'd just be like us three would have to like work it out in regards to like what do we want and stuff like that. I just was trying to see like what would the process look like.
Yeah, that makes sense. I am okay with making it per like organization, I guess, like body. Most people do not use up all $2,000, but if we do need to, we will cut funding. But yeah, I'm okay with making it per office. Let me change the language of that so that you guys do not have to fight over how you split the $2,000.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for answering all the questions, Jenny. How much, Promise has a question. How much is in capital contingency overall?
I am currently trying to find the budget report for that actually, because I forgot, but I'm pretty sure it's around 50,000. But please don't quote me on that. I forgot what account number we're under.
I don't know, Jenny, is that going to take you a while? Maybe we can come back to you. Oh, Patty.
Yeah, I'll try and look up the exact amount. I feel like capital contingency may only start being funded once we determine how much of the surplus we're allocating over. I don't think it has a set budget prior to that, but I'll have to double check.
Okay. Maybe we can move on to the discussion. I don't know if Jessica, you're okay with that while that number is found for council. Can we maybe talk about surplus? I know we're not voting on anything. So maybe just starting that discussion. If that's okay. I don't know. Okay, I guess I'll start the discussion. Hi everyone. So Patty, Jessica, Bong, and I had met earlier this week to discuss potential surplus. Again, we don't have the surplus at this moment, but the amount that we are estimating is around 100,000 at this point in time. I know my office and a few of your offices might not have that much funding. I know myself and Cass only have $1,000, which isn't a lot to make do with because we do want to make sure that our directors and staff are stipended. So I know that a few of you might also be interested in doing the same, as well as allocating funds for other important initiatives. I know that Books for Bruins also relies on funding. So at this point in time, I did want to ask, usually like the way the funds were going to happen is we would vote on them at the end of the quarter. However, if folks want funding right now, and I think it is kind of urgent, for example, for Books for Bruins to function, we can potentially have a date, maybe next council meeting, or yeah, probably next council meeting if folks would want, and we can go forth with budget proposals. The way we've done budget proposals in the past is you can either apply for full year. So like Books for Bruins might come and say, I want $50,000 for the full year. Okay, cool. Or we could do like, okay, you asked for $25,000 right now and $25,000 next quarter once we have the full amount of surplus, because right now it's predicted it'll be 100,000. It could go up a bit. And last year went up quite a lot. So, but again, it was a pandemic year, so that's a different type of year. So I did want to get a feel for the room if folks are interested in potentially having a discussion and submitting proposals next week or the following week for important initiatives they might have. Jane?
Hello, sorry. So this is just entirely selfish of me. I was wondering how council would feel about doing it, like if we're doing budget proposals, depending on like what everyone thinks, not next week, but the week after, just to give us a little more time, because I personally am very busy. But like if you guys want to do it next week, that's totally fine too. But I was just thinking if we could potentially do it the week after.
Yeah, so Angie, I don't know if you have any thoughts on this. I know that myself last year I was very much pushing for earlier the better so that I can have my funds prepared for Books for Bruins. But Tay?
Yeah, this is like a space for us to share like potential proposals, right?
Or no, you share it next meeting.
Okay.
So you can have an idea and then you would present, oh, I'm asking for $20,000. Reminder again that some of your guys' offices might have more funding than others. I do want to put that out there. And I also want to put in mind, council can get very aggressive. It's a very stressful time. I know Emily and not Emily. Emily used to set up all the polls and stuff to decide how much was being allocated. Last year's Emily, sorry, Emily, this year. And yeah, so it's very stressful. And I know Cass will have to deal with a lot of that, but I do want to keep in mind that we will be setting forth proposals and everyone should keep in mind like, okay, if I'm asking for this amount and we only have $100,000, that's not to say next quarter you can apply if there is more funding. However, I do want everyone to be mindful that some initiatives already need to happen and some people don't have much office stipends at this time. Erman?
Yeah, I know that a lot of this is bubbling in the chat right now, but I just wanted to second having these happen in week 5, just so that gives people some time this week and next week to really put together good proposals and to like avoid like what you said, Reese, about like having it be like a tense space. Like hopefully if people have some more time to like flesh out those proposals, it means that like it is like it's more feasible to like have that information more detailed when we do meet. So I feel like unless like we really need it for next week, I feel like week 5 would be a really a way to sort of ease some of that stress when we have to present those things all together. But also one thing that I just want to throw out there is that is midterms week maybe, and that might potentially be a long council meeting if like everyone's bringing all their surplus things. But just something to keep in mind.
So what we used to do in the past was we could also divide them up. And I think like, for example, Angie, like that's like a proposal you can draw from. Like I literally have them in like the AAC drive, so you could present maybe next week. So Angie, you had your hand up and then Pat.
Yeah, I just wanted to say like potentially if I could present next week, just because Books for Bruins applications have already closed and we really need to get that funding as soon as possible to be able to disperse funds as soon as possible, since a lot of students need to get reimbursed for their textbooks. And in some cases, it's really urgent. Yeah, so just wanted to ask if that was possible.
Patty, maybe you have the answer. I remember that we could, but.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question? I was typing a chat to Jenny about contingency.
Oh yeah, so Angie wants to know if she could but my thing is I thought we voted at the end. So Angie wanted to present next week to possibly get her funds, unless everyone would feel comfortable. Like if Angie comes forward asking for $20,000 and everyone's okay, like that is necessary and she's able to demonstrate that, are we able to vote on it next week and then everyone else could pass theirs week 5?
Yeah, that's completely up to council. For example, you all voted for brew and bash was a use of the anticipated surplus. So if the council chooses that they want to vote for one proposal prior to other proposals, or if they want to wait till they hear all proposals to make any determinations, that is up to council to make that choice. I did want to just clarify one quick thing about this anticipated surplus. So we are currently in the auditing process of last year's funding. So we don't have the exact number or what the surplus number would be. For the last, good number of years, we've brought forth at the beginning of fall quarter what we call anticipated surplus. So this is a number that we feel comfortable bringing forth to council, anticipating that your surplus will easily cover this amount, and that we can approve that you all can, activate these funding before we actually have access to those funds, which we will know the exact number at the end of fall and beginning of winter. So that's where Breeze had mentioned we'll be bringing up the remainder of the surplus coming the end of fall and the beginning of winter. So this is a good opportunity for any projects that may need funding for right now, and can't wait till we get to the end of the winter or the end of fall quarter, beginning of winter quarter for the remainder of the allocations. But I just wanted to explain kind of what the difference is about this funding prior to what will have the rest of it. And then that also ties into what the capital contingency is. So capital contingency doesn't have a fund going into the quarter or going into the school year. It's not a budget line item. It's based on surplus. So in your bylaws, you have a maximum of usually $150,000 of surplus that gets allocated into 3 different funding bodies. USA BOD, based on bylaws, usually receives 45%. Capital contingency, on average, would then receive, I believe it's 12%, and then the remainder goes to contingency. As a council, you can choose to adjust these percentages. It was done previously, or you can keep those similar percentages. So if you, let's say you allocate to the full amount of 150,000, 12% of that for capital would average you about $18,000 for the year for capital. So just to give you a sense of capital contingency budgets that you've had previously. So I just wanted to give a little bit more information on that too.
Thank you so much, Patty Jane.
Hi, yeah, I just have a quick question because I know there's some funding in restricted surplus from Lily for the Disability Cultural Center. Is that like, I don't have to do anything or like have a proposal for that, right? Because it's already from Lily. Is that included in the 100,000?
Breeze, is it okay if I answer that?
Oh yeah, of course.
Okay, great. That is the $100,000 does not include that restricted surplus. So this is an additional 100 on top of the restricted of the 30 that's carrying over for the funding that was acquired during Lily's commission, and then also the 70 that's already been allocated for Brew and Bash. So this is additional.
Thank you.
Okay. So council members, how are we feeling? First off, for surplus, are people comfortable with having Andrew present next week? And then the rest of council presenting the following week? Amazing. Can I get a feel for the room? A thumbs up, maybe? Yay. Okay, awesome. So again, reminder, please wait.
So
Yeah.
I think I wanted to also ask, when would we vote? Would we be voting next week or would we be voting the week after?
So we would be voting both weeks. So I think we can vote on Angie's and then folks can determine if they want to lessen the amount or increase it, whatever it may be. And then the following week we can vote on that remainder. Again, I want to remind folks to please not be greedy and remind everyone that cross collaboration works best. I know Lester, Naomi, Emily, few Bacher, I believe, a few people down council who didn't have as much SERP funding partnered together to make sure that their offices were all stipended. So I think if we can all come together, especially if we're not stipend, we don't have that much funding for our office. that would also be very beneficial for officers that don't have much money to give their directors. Jane?
Yeah, I was basically just gonna say what you said. But like, yeah, and I was wondering if like the offices who don't have, I know like FAC only has like 2K overall, like in total, like the offices who don't have enough to pay stipend, their directors can maybe, you know, start a chat or something to see how we can get people stipended like equally. And I don't know like how much Books for Bruins like usually ask for, but would it be possible to like do Books for Bruins next week and like vote on it? But then if we have like extra money and like say Books for Bruins like had originally requested more, you know, like if we had extra money, like give more to them at the end or whatever, because I wouldn't want us to like go really conservatively for Angie just because she's like only presenting next week, the only one presenting next week, or the opposite where it's like we give her like more money or whatever.
Yeah, I will say we can do that. I know last year, and I'll talk to Angie. Angie, if you'd like to discuss, I did $30,000 for my, no, $25,000 is what I asked for surplus. And I asked again for that same amount the following quarter. So Angie, I think like that's a really good option. That way other council members, I know sometimes folks bring forth initiatives they want to run. With that amount, we were able to get enough funding to also stipend our offices. I would also say that let's not play with all the funding just in case there are things that come up. Like last year, we were able to give to the pandemic relief fund because like additional funds were found. Yeah, thank you, Emily. But yeah, like want folks to be mindful, you know, like just because we have $100,000 doesn't mean like let's sweep the floor and spend it all. And also it's like anticipated right now. Jessica, sorry.
Yeah, I just wanted to give you all a quick reminder that as you're figuring out your budgets, if you're trying to cover stipends for your office staff, that the minimum weekly pay to hire somebody is $25 a week. So just keep that in mind as you're preparing your budget. Make sure that you request enough for however many directors or whomever of your staff are going to pay, that you're budgeting $25 a week for their stipend rate.
Thank you so much, Jessica. Okay, awesome. So if there are no further questions, we can maybe make a potential channel. I don't know if Cass, you want to be in charge of that. And maybe putting in the chat if people would like to be added, as well as adding maybe our finance directors so that they can, you know, do that math and make sure that we are meeting that $25 minimum threshold. Awesome. Thank you, Cass. Great. So let's go back to Jenny and the contingency, capital contingency guidelines we were discussing. Are there any further questions?
Yeah, I just updated the language on the guidelines if you guys want to take a look. So I specified that printers and copy machines shall not exceed $200 per physical office. So that will not be by group, but physical office. If you guys need like printing supplies like ink or like paper, then you should apply to contingency programming for that instead. And we will just do that as a supply line item.
Erman?
Hi, sorry to come back to this. It's just in reference to what Patty just shared. I was just checking the numbers for the stipends last year because TSR is one of the offices that collaborated for the sort of like joint stipend ask. And the stipends last year were per month for directors, like, and definitely not like $25 per week. I was just curious if that is like a new policy or like if I wonder if there's another way that they went around that last year at all, just because like $25 a week compared to like $30 a month is like a very different kind of stipend.
I thought that the reason, I mean, I could be wrong about like how much the funds are being added, but I thought that the reason, at least for my office, like folks started, Haley was in the office, so I think like folks didn't get like more funds until like towards the end because like it started to add up because, or I don't know, Jessica, I could be wrong. I'll let Jessica and Patty speak.
No, you're good. Yeah, so I just wanted to clarify. So essentially last year kind of created the need to set a minimum rate because a lot of students were being hired at such a low weekly rate that it was a heavy lift on getting them into the system, getting them checked through HR. It's just a lot of steps to get somebody hired. And so if you're not going to pay them at a rate that makes sense for them to be receiving a stipend, then it's encouraged that you find some other way to thank them for volunteering in your office by either doing some kind of staff gift, or there's also the volunteer discount card that any staff are eligible if they're not on payroll to get, and that gives them 20% off in the UCLA store. So yeah, it just was because there were so many people that got hired that were getting paid like $10 a week or like $5 a week, and that's just not a realistic wage for the amount of time and resources it takes to actually go through the hiring process. So it is kind of a new policy that we didn't have in place last year, but that going forward it will be a standard, and I believe it is $25 per week, but I can definitely confirm that with SGA and make sure that that's not a monthly number, but I'm pretty sure it's per week that rate.
Can we do an honorarium instead? Is that possible? Because for example, like I know like I would want to pay my directors like maybe like $500, but I don't have in the budget to pay them $25 a week.
Yeah, I think if you're going to pay honorarium payments for certain things, that process is fine too, but it's just different than hiring somebody. So as long as that's clear that like an honorarium is a different payment process than actually hiring someone and stipending them. So that's why it's different. And the only reason I say a weekly number is just because in the payroll system, that's what it pays out weekly. So you can think of it as quarterly or monthly rates, or however you want to do the math, but essentially it should be at least $25 a week for staff that you're actually going to put through the hiring process and have them on payroll.
Okay. I saw Armand, then Prom.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just want to be really clear. So I appreciate you putting up with my questions. So if we were to do an honorarium type of payment, we would just we could still do that through contingency. So, right? Or like, would we just like then, instead of talking about it as like a recurring like payroll type of payment, we would present that like in week 5 or whatever as an honorarium and still have that go through the same sort of contingency process?
Do you mean by like you want to use contingency funds to like?
Oh, sorry, no, I don't know why I said
or...
contingency. Sorry, I meant surplus. I'm so sorry. I don't know why I said contingency.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to do an honorarium payment instead, you can still have that be part of your surplus proposal. And then just the expectation is that it would be a one-time like thank you for your service payment, and you're not hiring them to work in your office as staff. So that would just be the distinction to keep in mind. But then yeah, you could decide whatever rate you want to pay them for the honorarium. It would just be one flat rate. And then, it would be a one-time payment through SGA. You would just submit a rec form to process that rather than having them go through the hiring process.
Okay, thank you so much, Jessica.
Promise.
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly inquire, because this is also an issue that I've personally ran into in the past week with trying to get my directors on payroll. So I was told that there's you could do quarterly stipend instead, and that could be a way to go around having to pay people $25 a week. Is that similar, or do you still have to be $25 a week?
Yeah, so my understanding is that 25 a week is their minimum rate. And so because basically when you're stipending someone, they're hired into UC Path. So it's however UC Path pays out the pay. I don't know if it's monthly, weekly. I'm not familiar with those procedures because I don't operate in UC Path payroll, but yeah, my understanding is that the $25 a week is a minimum to be able to get them into UC Path and have them hired. But I can definitely confirm with Irma. Irma's the one that manages all of your hiring and payroll for USAC and all of your staff. So we can definitely confirm that with her.
Haley, then Fernando.
Yeah, quick question. So if we were to do the honorariums, then our staff would be considered like volunteers, right? And then we can also still request like the discounts for staff at the UCLA store. Okay, thank you. I saw your answer in the chat.
Fernando.
Thank you, Fernando.
Jenny.
I just want to say, yeah, we could definitely talk to Irma. She's been like really helpful in terms of everything, and she knows everything about funding in UCLA. But last year, most offices did honorariums, just because I think it's a lot easier, especially if you're not planning on like, if you don't have the budget to have all of your staff at $25 a week. And then also because if you go through UC Path, like you get taxed. And so that money just becomes smaller, I guess. So a lot of people did honorarium, and that was like pretty easy. And I do think it's a lot simpler than going like through the hiring process, because with an honorarium, you just have to fill out a rec form and like have the honorarium like paperwork if you guys have ever done one. But if you do go through UC Path, you need like 2 forms of identification. You have to like meet up with like the Ask UCLA HR team, and like it just like takes a while, and it took my team like 3 weeks to get fully hired. So, and we only have 4 people right now, not including me. So just something to keep in mind, I guess.
Awesome. Any other questions? If not, I guess like we can talk more in the Slack about proposals. Can we get capital contingency guidelines? Can I get a motion for that, please?
Just a quick question. Were those like the clarifications that we talked about implemented, or do we need to like, oh no, I see that. Okay, for physical. Oh, okay, they've been added.
Yeah, I updated that you can have printers and copy machines. Allocations for computers and peripherals are per group per year. And I updated the application link. So it should be good to hopefully be as written, but let me know if there's any other changes you want to talk about.
Awesome. Okay. Are there any questions at this point in time? Going once, going twice. Okay. If not, can I get a motion, please?
I move to approve the 2021-2022 capital contingency guidelines.
Can I get a second?
I second.
Who was that? Sorry, Emily? Oh, Haley. Okay.
Yeah.
Man motions, Haley seconds, all in favor, please raise your hand. By a vote of 13 to 0 to 0, the motion passes. Capital contingency funding is approved. Thank you so much, Jenny. Great. Okay, awesome. Now I think that that is all on our agenda. Again, thank you so much, Cass, for creating that chat, and hopefully all our directors can work together moving forward. With that, I move to end this meeting at 8:38 p.m. Fernando, will you stop the recording, please?
Recording stopped.
Yay.